are the Cleveland Browns the real deal, or is this just a preseason game, D-Butts? And the fact that Shedeur was damn near perfect, had 2 touchdowns, had Nike ad immediately afterwards, had the world talking. It doesn't matter because it's preseason, or is this a sign of things to come?
You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. This prime equity clause is real. It's the first time any rookie or veteran player has ever gotten an equity clause, a prime equity clause contract. I take my hats off to Mr. Sanders. But John, what we're seeing here is a manifestation of fatherhood. This is how valuable a father is in a son's life. A father sees.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You could feel it before kickoff, that tension in the air, the kind of energy you only get when there's more at stake than anyone's willing to admit out loud. This wasn't just another preseason matchup. No, this was a stage, and Shedeur Sanders walked onto it like it had been built for him, his whole life. 2 touchdowns, near perfect execution, a command of the huddle that made you forget this was his first taste of NFL action. You know how rare that is. Most rookies step into their first preseason game looking like they've been dropped in the middle of a foreign country with no map and no translator. They fumble the cadence, misread coverages, take the safe check down just to avoid disaster. But Shedeur, he didn't just survive that moment, he owned it. From the first snap you could see he was playing with a calm that didn't match the pressure. The pocket collapsed, he slid. The read wasn't there, he adapted. The touchdown to start the night wasn't luck, it was confidence, built from years of preparation. He rolled left, felt the heat coming, and still zipped a dart that cut right through the defense. That's not the kind of play you fake. That's a quarterback who's been here in his mind 1,000 times before he ever stepped on that field. And here's the thing people keep trying to downplay. Yes, it's preseason, but greatness doesn't care what month it is. Russell Wilson, he announced himself in August of 20. Dak Prescott, same thing in 2016. The best don't wait for January to prove a point. They send a message the first time they put on the jersey. And Shedeur's message was loud. I'm not here to learn the ropes, I'm here to climb them. Every snap told you something new about this kid. The way he talked to his linemen before the play, that's command. The way he looked off safeties like he'd been doing it for years, that's poise. The way he celebrated with his teammates, not just after big plays but after the small wins, that's leadership. These are the little things that don't show up in the box score, but they win games in December. And let's be real, this was more than a debut. This was a takedown of an entire narrative. For months the critics lined up to say he was just Coach Prime's son, writing the Sanders name into an NFL paycheck. That he didn't have the arm talent. That the speed of the pro game would eat him alive. Well, on this night, in this game, Shedeur Sanders fed those doubts right back to the people who cooked them up, and he made them finish every bite. But here's what really struck me. The unshakable sense that he was playing for something bigger than one night, bigger than one box score. The man has a chip on his shoulder the size of the draft board that let him slide all the way to the 5th round. And when you combine that with his skill set, his preparation, and that Sanders-level swagger, you start to realize this isn't a Cinderella story. It's a storm rolling in. So yeah, you can call it preseason. You can say the defenses were vanilla, and the game plan was basic. But when a rookie steps into the lights, with the weight of his last name, the pressure of doubters, and the expectations of an entire city on his shoulders, and he delivers like that, that's a statement game. One that tells the league the Browns might not just have their quarterback of the future. They might have a superstar in the making. And trust me, this was just the first shot fired. The bigger story, it's still coming. You don't fall to the 5th round by accident. You fall because people don't believe in you. You fall because every war room has a reason to look the other way, even when the tape is screaming something different. And that's exactly what happened to Shedeur Sanders on draft night. He had the production, he had the poise, he had the football IQ you can't fake. But instead of going early, where quarterbacks with his resume usually live, he sat and waited and watched name after name get called. Guys with fewer big game moments, guys with more question marks, guys who will never be able to process a defense the way he can. Yet there he was, still on the board. Not because he wasn't ready, but because the league had already decided what box to put him in. Prime's kid, a storyline, not a quarterback. By the time Cleveland called his name, the national conversation wasn't about him leading a franchise. It was about him holding a clipboard, maybe sneaking into a preseason drive or two, learning from the real options on the depth chart. And look, before camp, That made sense on paper. Joe Flacco, the steady vet. Kenny Pickett, the young guy with tools but an uneven track record. Malik Gabriel, athletic upside but a project. On paper, Shedeur was supposed to be QB3 or QB4, developing in the shadows. But football isn't played on paper. The moment camp started, you could feel the shift. The way he took reps. The way the ball came out on time, every time. The way guys like Amari Cooper and David Njoku suddenly looked a little more alive in drills when he was under center. You can't fake that energy. That's chemistry. That's belief. And then came the debut. 1 game, 2 touchdowns. And just like that, the narrative flipped. The same media voices who brushed him off as just another preseason arm were suddenly replaying his throws in slow motion, breaking down his footwork, pointing out his pocket patience. The locker room noticed too. When veterans start hanging around a young QB after practice, when linemen are asking to run extra protections with him, that's when you know something's changed. It's not just about what he's doing. It's about what his presence is doing to the entire QB room. Suddenly, Flacco's not just the safe option. He's the guy trying to hold on to his spot. Pickett's not just battling defenses. He's battling the kid breathing down his neck. Gabriel, now he's the one on the outside looking in. This is what happens when a player refuses to play by the script the league writes for him. Shedeur wasn't supposed to be here, in the conversation, in the huddle, in the highlight reel this early. But here he is making the Browns rethink their future before the regular season even starts. And if you think the draft day chip on his shoulder was big before, wait until you see what he does with the league finally paying attention. From the moment Shedeur Sanders' name hit that draft board, the critics lined up. You could hear it everywhere. He's not ready for NFL speed. His mechanics won't hold up against pro defenses. He's only getting hype because of his last name. And then right before his preseason debut, it got even uglier. Some insiders flat out said the Browns had set him up to fail, throwing him into a situation where the offensive line wasn't fully settled. The playbook was trimmed, and the expectations were minimal. Basically, they thought this was just a courtesy look, not a real audition. But here's the thing about setting up a player to fail. It only works if the player plays along. Shedeur didn't. He walked onto that field like he'd been there for years. First series, Poise. The pocket started to collapse, and instead of panicking like so many rookies do, he slid up, found his read, and dropped a dart for a first down. That's not surviving. That's controlling the game. Remember the talk about his slow processing? Yeah, tell that to the safety he froze on his second drive, looking him off just long enough to open a seam for the touchdown strike. You don't do that unless your mental clock is elite. You don't do that unless you've put in hours of film, hours of reps, and hours of visualizing exactly that moment. And the mechanics critics? They said his footwork wouldn't hold up against real pressure. But in this game, you saw him plant, reset, and deliver with perfect balance even with a rusher breathing down his neck. It wasn't just clean, it was veteran clean. The kind of footwork that keeps drives alive and keeps defensive coordinators up at night. But maybe the most telling thing was what happened between plays. The huddle wasn't quiet. Guys were locked in on him. He was talking, commanding, making sure everyone knew the assignment. That's leadership you can't teach. And let's be real, rookies don't usually have the guts to grab the huddle like that in their first game. They're too busy making sure they don't screw up. Shedeur? He was too busy making sure everyone else didn't. And that's the rare combination he brings. Mental toughness and brand awareness. He knows every snap isn't just about the scoreboard. It's about building something bigger. Every throw is a message. Every read is a statement. He's not just trying to survive the NFL. He's planting the seeds for a career that will outlast the critics, the doubters, and the noise. So yeah, the hate was loud. The heat was real. But the way he handled it, that's how you flip the script. That's how you take setup to fail and turn it into set the tone. And if you think the critics are quiet now, just wait, because the next chapter of this story is about to make even his biggest doubters eat their words. The cameras don't see it. The headlines don't talk about it. But this is where Shedeur Sanders is winning. In the hours nobody's counting. In the moments when the stands are empty and the lights are off. While most guys head home after camp, Shedeur's still there, in the film room, clicking through cut-ups of defenses he hasn't even faced yet. Not just watching plays, dissecting them, pausing, rewinding, finding that one tell in a safety's hips or a linebacker's stance that could turn into a first down when the game's on the line. That's not hype. That's mastery in the making. Then there are the extra reps. Not the glamorous kind with a full offense, but the gritty ones. Throwing routes to equipment guys in the fading light, perfecting timing down to the millisecond. It's muscle memory being built brick by brick. You can't fake that kind of work ethic. You can't Instagram it. But when the pressure hits on Sunday, that's what comes out. This isn't new for him. Back at Colorado, he faced pressure that would have cracked most QBs. Protection breaking down. Defensive lines coming at him like he'd stolen something. The national spotlight magnifying every mistake. That adversity, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It hardened him for this exact stage, this exact moment in Cleveland. And then there's the mindset. Everyone knows about that prime equity clause, the business move that shocks sports media. But to Shedeur, it's more than money. It's a declaration. I know my worth. I control my path. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect.
That's the same mindset that makes him stay late when he doesn't have to. The same mindset that makes him take the practice reps that nobody's tracking on the stat sheet. We've seen this story before. Jalen Hurts doubted at Alabama, rebuilt himself at Oklahoma, and became an MVP candidate. Brock Purdy, written off as Mr. Relevant, now running an NFC contender. The common thread? Preparation, resilience, execution. The stuff you can't measure at the combine, but you see on game day. And that's why this isn't just a hot streak or preseason magic. This is earned. Every read, every throw, every leadership moment in that huddle is the result of hundreds of invisible hours. You don't stumble into becoming a franchise quarterback. You work your way there when nobody's watching, so when everybody's watching, you look like you were born for it. That's the breakthrough nobody saw coming, because most people weren't looking in the right places, but we're looking now. And Cleveland better realize it too, because guys like this don't come around often. And if you think this behind-the-scenes grind is impressive, wait until you see how it's about to change, not just his career, but the future of the entire Browns organization. There are moments in NFL history when a franchise's entire future pivots, not with a blockbuster trade, not with a front office overhaul, but with one player stepping onto the field and proving he's the difference maker they've been waiting decades for. I believe we're watching that moment in Cleveland right now. Shedeur Sanders isn't just filling a spot on the depth chart. He's rewriting what this Browns offense can be. And if the organization has the courage to see it, really see it, this could be the start of something that echoes for years. Think about it. Cleveland's been through quarterback after quarterback, searching for stability, leadership, and that rare mix of arm talent and mental toughness. We've had sparks, sure, flashes, but never a sustained fire. Now here's this rookie, a fifth-round pick, overlooked, underestimated, walking into camp and making it feel like the energy just shifted. The huddle looks different. The sideline feels different. Even the fans in the stands can sense it. And here's the thing. Moments like this don't wait around. If you hesitate, if you treat it like maybe next year, the league moves on. Somebody else seizes the opportunity. Somebody else reaps the rewards of the guy you didn't fully believe in. That's why this is now or never for the Browns. Sanders' rise isn't just about this season's record. It's about rewriting the franchise's DNA. Imagine the ripple effect. An offense that plays with swagger because they trust their QB. A defense that feeds off that energy and plays with even more edge. A city that rallies because they see the leader they've been craving lining up under center every Sunday. It's bigger than football. It's about belief. It's about resilience. This kid didn't just survive the noise, he turned it into fuel. He's showing Cleveland that you can be doubted, dismissed, and still show up and dominate. That's the culture shift that turns a team from hopeful to dangerous. And to the fans, you're going to remember this moment. You'll remember where you were the first time you realized Shedeur Sanders wasn't just another rookie. You'll remember the way it felt to believe, really believe, that the Browns could be on the verge of something special. NFL seasons are long, they're brutal, but every once in a while a player comes along who makes you forget about all the heartbreak and reminds you why you care so much in the first place. That's what's happening here. So Cleveland, this is the time. Don't blink. Don't hesitate. Seize it. Because the window is open right now. And if you step through it, you might just change the trajectory of this franchise forever.